In November 2019, the Ministry of Environment, Natural Resources Conservation and Tourism in Botswana embarked on a 100-day pledge to achieve key aspects of the ministry's transformation agenda. As 2020 draws to a close with the undisputed impact of COVID-19 across all sectors, how has the ministry fared in its journey of transformation?
The journey actually started late last year, following the appointment of new cabinet, of which the Minister, Honorable Philda Kereng, got appointed the Minister of Environment, Natural Resource Conservation and Tourism. Following her appointment, she shared with us her vision for the ministry, and that included detailing the transformation agenda as it was pronounced.
She has since hit the ground running towards transforming the tourism industry landscape and developing a thorough roadmap to achieve this.
Yes, I hit the ground running. There's no time to waste. And the excitement actually fueled in me the passion that I have for development, for tangible results in driving development. From my background as a socio-economic development expert, having worked with communities, I saw opportunities for me to thrive in what I know best.
The ministry began by engaging various communities in the country. Through in-depth consultation and meetings with staff and stakeholders, priceless input was gathered and considered during implementation.
I created a roadmap. In this roadmap, I looked at the national vision, the national development plans, and we brought that together, and I created a roadmap that I communicated very clearly to my leadership and made sure that every member of staff actually internalized that. It's mainly based on employment creation, empowering our people through trusts, through individual businesses that exist, building diversified products within tourism so that our people can actually find ways to enter the sector and thrive in it. We are also able to maximize output of our employees. So it is about human resource, the human capital also being strengthened, and also transforming a lot of systems that are, impeding in terms of that have been impediments in terms of delivering our services. Also, facilitating inclusive, development approaches where we engage our stakeholders. We leverage on, expertise that we don't have from our development partners, from our stakeholders, experts all around our country and even globally to enhance the work that we do.
Even though we had to reprioritize our budget to make sure that those commitments are actually delivered, there came the monster COVID. Although it had its own opportunities as well, but it affected a lot of some of the plans but we didn't despair. We reprioritized again and pushed so that we still remain on track in delivering on our commitments. Then some of the things that were heavy on resource demands from our side, we had the spike of poaching, rhino poaching. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it started going up, and it required tremendous amount of resources for us to be able to curb it, including hiring helicopters day in and day out for them to monitor, for them to go on the ground. The dehorning exercise, gobbling considerable amount of resources from our budget. And then when we thought we are done with that, there came the elephant mortality. Elephants started dying. About 281 elephants ended up dying. We then had to divert yet additional resources into that exercise. It wasn't cheap either, including sending samples out of the country, getting people on the ground, hiring air support. It took a lot of resources from us. But this didn't discourage us in any way. We still thought to ourselves, we will do what we can do under the circumstances to make sure that that which we promised Botswana will be delivered.
One of the greatest milestones to date is the Heritage Trail linking attraction sites in Botswana and Namibia, development of the Matlapana Bridge in Maung, and the elephant-proof fence in Matatani. The ministry has completed the revision of the Environmental Assessment Act, The Act will reduce time taken to process environmental impact assessments, or EIAs, and also reduce the number of projects subjected to EIA.
There was a study that was done called Doing Business in Botswana that assessed our processes in terms of how we facilitate investors that come here wanting to help us grow the economy, and the environmental impact assessment process was identified as one of the impediments, and it meant that we had to review this process, including reviewing the legal instrument itself.
One of the developments is the Tourism Information Licensing System, which offers a platform to apply for tourism license, pay license fees or penalties, and training levy fee online.
So operators can just go online and do the payments, obtain their licenses without going to maybe a capital town somewhere, go to the nearest town, go to offices to queue, the whole day and so forth. So it helps us to actually advance technology in our tourism operations, and it's quite efficient, and it makes work easier for our operators who have to concentrate more on their businesses.
Another exciting development sees the renovation of the National Museum. This includes refurbishment of the permanent exhibition, new galleries, and a virtual museum gallery, which will provide a platform for showcasing Botswana's heritage throughout the world, as it will be accessible online.
We are moving with the times. These things are already happening in other countries. And for us, even though our museum will be having that feature, what is encouraging is that more and more young Botswana have been coming up front to showcase the products that they are developing in terms of virtual tourism. And this is where you can actually visit our museum without being there physically.
So the upgrading of this museum is going to help us to have state-of-the-art exhibition halls where we can display all the materials, heritage, our stories, our artifacts, all the cultural richness that we've been collecting that is right now in storerooms. We are also going to have in this renovated structure galleries and facilities where we are going to be able to engage with the public, scholars, researchers, students, tourists who will come and actually see Botswana in one space.
The ministry has floated an expression of interest for development of tourism facilities in dams across the country.
Our people like recreation. Around the dams, the water provides the best, if I may say. That's why during the holidays, they will go to Swakopmund because of the ocean, the seas. They will go to Durban because of that. They will go to Hartbeespoort Sportfontein in South Africa for that. And there's also the beach in Busan City. So this movement of people always leaving the country, going for such experiences are away. It's denying us opportunities to actually make money in country and also have the experiences that can attract tourists. So dam tourism for us is one of the ways that we really encourage, and we have really adopted to facilitate that.
These include Gaborone, Litsebogo, Tune, and Shashe dams. This is restricted to citizens and 100% citizen-owned companies as part of the country's commitment to enhancing the participation of citizens in the tourism industry.
And one of the things that we have also done in that process is to reserve some of the prime tourism sites for the communities around those dams. If we take the Tune Dam, for example, we have identified sites that will be reserved solely to the community trusts that are nearing the Tune Dam. Same with Litsebogo, same with Shashe. Those ones, they will not be competed for outright for the community trusts.
The ministry also introduced agro-tourism guidelines that have been launched to enable Botswana to optimize the use of their land for tourism purposes. The guidelines allow citizens to use up to 50% of their agricultural land or masimu for tourism purposes.
In February this year, we launched the revised agro-tourism guidelines, and people are allowed to use 50% of their farmland for agriculture, and the rest they can use for other economic activities. And we are saying tourism is the best to incorporate into the farming activities. Now these guidelines, they are helpful for people to understand how they can put infrastructure within their farms, and also the activities that they can do, so that while while they are doing their farming, they can attract tourists. They can build chalets, campsites. People can camp there in the morning. They go and participate in farming activities, give them experience, and also cook them the food that you farmed or they produce in the farm. And it actually broadens the experience for our tourists.
We then develop the game farming guidelines. The game farming guidelines will also complement the agrotourism guidelines so that they diversify the product a little bit, increase the tourism appeal within the agrotourism guidelines, and be able to enhance returns that are likely to accrue from utilizing the land.
In order to increase meaningful citizen participation in the growth and development of the tourism industry, government has taken a decision to reserve concessions in the Okavango Delta for Botswana. The government has allocated concession areas in and around the Okavango Delta to community trusts such as Okavango Community Trust, Kwai Community Trust, and Sankoyo.
We are not talking about those that are already established in the tourism industry. We are talking about even those that are starting in the tourism industry, but they should be able to have the machinery, being the financial resources, for them to be able to develop the product that they wish and operate it. So even as we grant to the communities, we know that there will be a support system in terms of the financial systems from SIDA to help them to achieve or to set up or to develop the sites that will be allocated to them and operate them.
COVID-19 has presented a number of challenges to the tourism sector in particular, as well as to all Botswana and indeed the entire world. It has placed additional pressure on our economy, our communities, and our livelihoods, hence forcing us to rethink our priorities and what initiatives to start in order to kickstart the tourism industry. The Ministry, through the Botswana Tourism Organization, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and the private sector, has prepared COVID-19 Standard Operating Procedures, or SOPs, to ensure that as tourism establishments gradually open, they are fully compliant. The Ministry is confident that these extensive protocols shall enable the travel, tourism and related industries to operate as safely as possible as relevant COVID-19 restrictions are eased.